Rex.
And I'm Courtney Cole, and we begin at 6 with a next weather alert for another round of rain that could impact your New Year's Eve plans. Here's our chief. Here's who you want to hear from. Eric, lay it on us. Well, how's this going to impact our plans?
Some years it's bitter wind chills and it's miserable to be outside. This will not be the case, but there is some rain. It's going to be right around the stroke of midnight. So that's what we're keeping our eye on. Here's what we're watching for you here as we get into the final few hours of 2024 and get ready to kick off a new year. Basically, we've got a round of rain arriving right around the stroke of midnight. So this will impact maybe some of the fireworks displays, but also the drive home if you're out later on tomorrow night. Really, that arrival time is between the 11 o'clock to 1 a.m. window. This looks to bring about a ½ inch to an inch of rain total. Very similar to what we had this morning. After that, we had a beautiful afternoon. Felt like spring outside. It's mainly clear at the moment. There's our next round of rain gathering off toward the west. And so as we look at the timeline here around Boston, right around 11 to midnight, that's where the rain starts to come in. It's certainly not a bitter New Year's Eve this year. We'll be in the 40s most of the day tomorrow and tomorrow night right on through into Wednesday morning. Here's how it plays out. Bright sunshine for the first half of the day. Great day to be outdoors, taking some of the first night festivities that take place during the afternoon or the evening. Dinners, no problem at all. And then as we get toward around midnight, here comes that rain. A little earlier on the south coast around Cape Cod and down toward the islands. That rain arriving around 11 p.m. and right around midnight in Boston and the North Shore as well as Worcester. In New Hampshire, I think you'll probably wait till just after midnight before that rain rolls in. Could be a little thunder and lightning in the mix here. Steadiest rain will be leaving on Wednesday morning, but still an unsettled day. There'll be some scattered showers as we head into the afternoon. But in terms of layering up, it'll be, cool outside, but for the end of December, not bad. 45 degrees at 6 o'clock in Boston and then low 40s for the rest of the night. And that's as cold as it's going to get, but it will get much colder in the forecast going forward. We'll take a look at that and some really strong winds that are on the way into coming up. Christina?
All right, Eric, thanks so much. Today's one of the busiest travel days of the holiday season, and our Louisa Moeller went to Logan Airport to check in with travelers heading back home.
We're rolling into the home stretch of the holiday season with travelers at Logan Airport holding on to new presents and fond memories. Did you get anything really good? What'd you get?
I got a stuffy cat, a Tamagotchi, and like a pop-up book.
Some also carrying memories of travel days past.
So we left on Sunday, the 22nd, whatever that day was, yeah. And we left, I was surprised at 5:45 in the morning. The lines were really long. We were actually going to check some bags and we were like, nope.
Things are looking up.
We were so relieved to get through Atlanta without a delay because that's only 2 hours from home and that's usually where we're delayed. And so when you're in Atlanta, you're always thankful that you're there.
But the TSA says travelers shouldn't breathe a sigh of relief yet. December 30th is considered one of the 3 busiest travel days of the holiday season. Although Massport has not yet released data for this month, travel trends continue to break records.
Overall, we've seen a pretty strong volume, which is what we forecasted, a record number of people traveling this year.
Data from last December shows nearly 2.5 million domestic passengers passed through Boston Logan, an increase of roughly 150,000 people from the prior year. For now, the boards at Logan show only a few flashes of orange, and a buddy can always make traveling feel a little bit better.
Does Buddy always travel with you?
Yes.
Travel companion. And do you think Buddy had a good time traveling today?
Yeah.
How about you?
Yes, I did.
Nationally, the TSA says on Sunday, 2.7 million people passed through the nation's airports. Outside Boston Logan, Louisa Moeller, WBZ News.
A Rhode Island man has admitted to setting fires at a predominantly black church in Rhode Island. Prosecutors say Kevin Colantonio used gasoline to set fires around the Shiloh Gospel Temple. This is in North Providence back in February. Now, no one was inside at the time. Rhode Island's district attorney says writings found in the suspect's home include racist themes. He's due in court for a change of plea hearing next week.
And the community is coming together to help the owner of a liquor store in North Andover after his business was ransacked. Mickaloon's liquor store was burglarized sometime Saturday night. The shelves were cleared and countless bottles were smashed. The owner says it's easily hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. Now, yesterday, crowds of people with mops and brooms helped bring his store back to looking good as new. Police now are still searching for those suspects.
Tributes are pouring in for former President Jimmy Carter. The 39th president of the United States died at the age of 100. And one of his biggest contributions to the country actually came after after his presidency from his decades spent with Habitat for Humanity.
WBZ's Logan Hall caught up with a local real estate developer who knew Carter from his time with the organization and what he remembers most about the late president.
America mourning the loss of former President Jimmy Carter. He was a president who redefined life after leaving office through his work with Habitat for Humanity, spending decades working to build homes for those in need.
Really embodied, I think, who he was. I think it's providing housing for people in need, providing opportunities for people who don't have housing otherwise, and communities getting together to swing a hammer to help your neighbor.
Boston real estate developer Bruce Percolay became friends with the former president while serving as the chair for Habitat for Humanity of Greater Boston. He says Carter didn't fit the mold for Washington, D.C., describing him as a grounded man, more of a peanut farmer than a politician.
He was not the kind of person that you would necessarily expect to be president. If you saw him on the street or in a line in a post office, you wouldn't necessarily expect that he was president.
President and CEO for Habitat for Humanity Greater Boston, James Costeris, says Jimmy Carter left a profound legacy through the work he did after leaving office.
President Carter was really a towering figure in the movement to recognize housing as a basic human right. And he did that, through his work with Habitat. It's really hard to overstate the impact of his work in the lives of thousands of people.
Reminiscing on memories together at the Carter's home in Georgia, Bruce says he'll cherish the time he got to spend with the former president.
This is a very, very genuine, grounded human being.
Grateful for his dedication to a greater cause. In Chestnut Hill, Logan Hall, WBZ News.
Well, WBZ is your home for the Patriots, who are now just one game away from ending a tough season, to say the least.
You think?
WBZ Sports Director Steve Burton is here with me now with tonight's pivot point. And Steve, instead of a pivot point from Sunday's loss, we're going to look ahead?
Absolutely. Patriots in a weird position right now.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. They have the #1 overall pick in the draft. If they lose to the Buffalo Bills, it's guaranteed. So it's time to pivot towards the draft, folks. Earlier today, when asked about the possibility of not playing Drake May on Sunday, Gerard Mayo said everything is in consideration. I think you sit May this week. I think you do. We saw him take a nasty hit earlier against the Chargers. He was checked out and allowed to return to the game, but everyone in Foxborough was holding their breath on that one. But why risk anything happening to him, right? You want this guy to be the face of your franchise for years to come. May said on WEI radio this afternoon that he wants and expects to play, which is what you want to hear from your starting quarterback.
But I don't think I'd want to be the person telling Drake May that he's not playing on Sunday. So who's at quarterback?
I get it. I think you give the ball to Joe Milton.
Okay.
Why not? Find out what he can do, folks. Yeah, find out what he can do. Milton showed some flashes in his limited opportunities during the preseason, but we haven't seen him play at all in the regular season. The Pats need to see him in real game action to get a better idea of what they have in this guy. Jacoby Brissett may not want to be here next year if he knows he has no shot at starting, so you need to assess the backup situation. Is Joe Milton your backup, or is that one more thing you do put on the list for the offseason? It's going to be interesting to see how all this unfolds. But I say sit Drake May, let them lose the game. I know Eric's going to laugh at me at this, but I say, you know what? Let's move on. Let's get that #1 pick and let's rebuild.
I say let's see if Gerard Mayo takes your advice. I like it, Steve.
We'll see.
WBZ is the place to be for the final Patriots game of the season. You can join us Sunday morning at 11:30 for Patriots All Access on WBZ and streaming on CBS News Boston. Kickoff against the Bills is at 1 o'clock here on BZ. Then after the game, flip over to TV 38 for Patriots All Access with Steve.
All right, Christina and Steve, we'll have to see what happens. It's still ahead here at 6. Taking a look back at the best of BZ with our story that answered the question, how did Bees make a big comeback?
For the record, I agree with Steve. I'm on board. I'm on board with that plan. We got some rain in tomorrow night's forecast. It'll affect some of the New Year's Eve plans. We'll look at that and a pattern shift that brings back the cold coming up.
WBZ.
If you went outside, it was a wet start to the day today. And even though we had a relatively dry afternoon, more rain is coming back for the new year.
WBZ Chief Meteorologist Eric Fisher is here now. And Eric, we're actually in a next weather alert for this evening. How is that going to affect New Year's Eve plans?
Yeah, it's just a heads up that if you're heading out tomorrow night, some rain will be entering the picture at the very tail end of all those New Year's Eve plans. This will be arriving between about 11 o'clock and 1 a.m. So it's a photo finish between when we ring in the new year and when that rain starts to fall across the area. About a ½ inch to an inch of rain looks likely, and a few showers will linger for New Year's Day. If you're heading out to brunch, you have some plans there on the first of the year. Today, boy, was it mild outside. This month has been all over the place between the cold and the mild days. Some towns hit 60 degrees again this afternoon with that sunshine. We had about a ½ inch to an inch of rain with this morning's round, and that's exactly what we expect to come through on Tuesday night. If you look at the year, even though we had the driest 3-month stretch ever recorded in southern New England, it was still a wetter than average year. We're about 2 inches above the average. December playing a big role in that, as well as especially the start of the year. We had some of those big rainstorms that kicked things off. When all put together, only a couple inches less than what we saw last year, which everyone remembers as soaking wet. So it's all about the extremes, it seems like. Lately, there's our next round of rain, middle of the country, getting here tomorrow night. This evening, though, really beautiful outside. It's mainly clear. It's drying out. It's not very cold. We'll be looking at 30s to around 40 when you wake up tomorrow morning, and a really nice final day of 2024. A sunny start. Some late clouds move in. Not much wind. If you're heading out for dinner tomorrow night, want to get your hair done, have to look really nice. The wind's not going to be blowing it all over the place. That's usually a concern in the wintertime, but it won't be tomorrow evening. We'll be up around 50, and if you want to take down some of the Christmas decorations that are outside, some of them, if you want to, judgment free here. Tomorrow will be a great day to do it because after tomorrow, we're going to be talking about wind and much colder weather. It's going to stick around for a while. It will not be very pleasant to have that job as we look forward into January. Meanwhile, how about the rainfall? Well, it won't get here until late. So tomorrow, we'll just see some increasing later day clouds. Looks quiet for all of your dinner plans. And then as we approach around 11, rain will start to make its way toward the south coast, could affect some Cape Cod and Islands plans. And then around midnight, that's about the start time in Boston. It'll be right near the fireworks. And certainly if you're driving home anywhere tomorrow night, after midnight, the rain will be here. So a wet second half of the night. Could even be a little thunder and lightning in the mix. The steadiest is done by the morning, but there'll still be some lingering showers and a lot of clouds for January 1st. Tomorrow night will not be terribly cold either. We'll talk about 40s all evening in Boston, so we don't have to really bundle up too much. Just need something to fend off the wet weather from midnight onward. And as I mentioned, about a ½ inch to an inch of rain looks likely from this round. No flooding expected, but we continue to just blow past all the dry weather that we saw in the fall. If you're heading up to do some skiing after New Year's Eve, this next round will bring some snow to the mountains. I think especially from the Waterville Valley area northward and also into the Greens, they'll be getting some upslope snow. There'll also be a lot of wind. So right behind this system, we're probably going to continue a weather alert for the wind on Thursday. Late Wednesday night into Thursday, some strong gusts. Looks like we could see a few over 50 miles per hour on Thursday out of the west. That could create some scatter damage and a few power outages too. So a really blustery day. Those are the winds of change that start to bring us back to colder times. There's a look at your next 7, and on Friday we'll be in the 30s, but still blustery and cold. And the weekend right now looks very chilly. Highs will be around 30 or so on Saturday and Sunday. The night's getting cold again as we start to build back some of the ice that's all been disappearing over the last couple days.
Well, Eric, once we learned that the hair wasn't going to be messed up, we had everything that we needed.
Yeah, all set.
Eric, thank you. The voice of Darth Vader, one of baseball's greatest players ever and a music industry icon.
Here's a look at some of the notable people we lost in 2024.
Now, the best of BZ, the stories this year, which inspired us, entertained us, and informed us. For many years, we've talked about the bee colony collapse.
Yeah, bees were dying at an alarming rate, but that headline eventually faded away. In Question Everything, WBZ's Paula Eben found out why the bee has made a comeback.
When the story's about bees, you've got to get close to them.
When we're pulling this frame, I already know that there's a queen in here because I'm seeing eggs inside the little tiny cells.
That's beekeeper Bridget showing off a healthy hive at Best Bees in Boston. But first, you got to put on your beekeeping suit. So, here we go. Ready? We're ready? Yes. We're ready to go. We can do this. Can you sense my anxiety? Anyway, she smokes them out so they're hungry and hopefully distracted.
I gotta ask, how many times have you been bitten?
This season? Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
But I'm also going into about 100 colonies a week. Do you want to hold a frame?
I don't.
You don't?
I'm so sorry.
All right, no worries.
I'll do so much for my job. This I cannot do. Why are they so important to us?
They're important so we're able to get pollination. 1 out of 4 bites are pollinated by honeybees.
Best Bees installs and maintains honeybee hives in both homes and at commercial properties like the roof of the Copley Plaza Hotel. Meet founder and CEO Noah Wilson-Rich. Bees are his business. I knew he'd have the answers I was looking for.
The colony collapse disorder did stop.
Colony collapse disorder stopped around 2011.
Do we know why?
We don't know why, and we don't know what started it. It was associated with new pesticides hitting the market, but it's very unclear. Those bees vanished, no dead bodies, and now we see the dead bodies.
Okay, that's creepy. So the question is, what caused this invasion of the body snatchers? Let's go to the B-roll. He says in 1987, a mite came to the U.S. and changed the game for beekeeping. Of course, we need bees, our pollinators, for food. They're just not as healthy as they once were because of the mite and because of pesticides that can all lead to colony collapse disorder.
The mite was attacking the bee colonies, kind of like a tick attacks humans.
Exactly. The mite attacks just like a tick. It will suck the blood of bees and make them very weak and transmit other diseases.
After that, the bees needed some TLC, and Wilson-Rich needed a way to fund his research. Best Bees was born in his Boston apartment.
Started Best Bees in 2010 in my South End apartment living room, no money, and a Facebook page and a dream.
15 years later, it's a multi-million-dollar national company in 23 locations with the biggest database on pollinator health and biodiversity and a whole lot of honey.
We collaborate with NASA, so we look at their Earth observation satellites to understand weather patterns and the impact of home gardens and beehives and agriculture and how we relate the two.
When Best Bees installs one of these starter kits for a client, each nucleus bee colony contains a queen bee, 10,000 starter bees, and within a few months that will grow to 50 to 60,000 bees. Their peak population happens in July, getting ready for the winter.
We need to do our part in order to help improve bee health.
He adds, there are a record number of bees in the U.S. now, but colony collapse left them more fragile. You don't have to keep bees to help. We can all do simple things like plant a flower.
More beehives die in America every year than survive. Over half of the beehives died last year.
Best Bees had a 90% survival rate over the winter, and that has them all abuzz. Sorry.
We really need to appreciate bees and not kill them or hurt them, but instead understand how can we help them.
Put it on the honey-do list. Paula Eben, WBZ News.
WBZ News.
Yes. We caught that. We hope you did too. You're watching WBZ. We'll be right back.
Paramount Plus. Stream movies, live sports, and lots of new stuff from streaming.
A relaxing walk on the beach, well, it turned into a scene from The Fast and the Furious. Tonight on the WBZ News at 11, we speak to a witness who saw someone driving through the sand and the water in the hot.
That video is unbelievable.